So this isn't per se a review, but more a suggestion that I think you should probably try this game out if you like action RPGs. I honestly really don't know how else to introduce this. I thought about waffling on and doing all the breakdowns and bits and pieces, but honestly, I just want to talk about the game because I've really been enjoying it. I'm sure you already gathered by the title that I am, of course, referring to Lost Ark, but yeah, I've just been having loads of fun with it. If you don't know what Lost Ark is, just before we get going, basically it's developed by Smilegate. It was released in Korea. The Russians have also a couple of servers for it where I'm playing at the moment, and Amazon have done a licensing agreement with them in which they're going to be doing the translations and making some Western kind of niceties, let's say, so it kind of fits us more with our kind of cultural gaming play style. But that isn't coming out until December, so there is 4 months for me to convince you all that you need to play this and get it in your life. Anyway, so Lost Ark is hybridized MMO, so it is a mixture between ARPG-ness and MMO-ness. So imagine Black Desert had a baby with Diablo and you're pretty much there on the nail. I'm not going to describe and wow you with the story. There is a story. It is quite good fun. There is lots of cool cutscenes, which I must say are pretty impressive considering this game was built on Unreal 3. But for me, the thing with any MMO, and I know you've got games like Final Fantasy and even WoW where people do get invested in the story, the thing is the gameplay loop has to be really, really fun. So I guess this is more like a big love letter, so I'll start off with things that I absolutely love about this game. So the classes, they are amazing. I'm an absolute ultaholic. When I finish one class and I get into the end game, I'm usually firing up one or two in the background. So how the class system works is that there are 5 core classes, and they're warrior, martial artist, gunner, mage, and assassin. But what makes it really, really sweet is that each of these classes has its own distinct subtype. Now the great thing about this is that these subtypes really only share the model at heart. They all play completely different. They've got different abilities, different talents, different movesets, and it's beautiful. And I'll give you an example. So take the gunner, for example. Like blowing things up with a giant cannon and walking around like you're trying to make up for something, then play the artillerist. He's got a huge cannon, he can fire rockets, he does mortar strikes, nuke strikes, he's got a huge turret that he can put down. It's really, really fun. Maybe you like to be more mobile and pretend that you're a DMC player, then you've got the Deadeye, who has 3 guns as his special abilities, which you can swap around and do hot combos and juggling and all sorts of fun things. And then last but not least, you have the Sharpshooter, who is basically a guy who runs around with a bow, and has your more traditional kind of hot agility, fire loads of arrows and rain them down from the sky type of gameplay. Now, I will just say as a side note before someone jumps on me and says, Dom, that's not all the classes for Gunner. I was basing this on the EU release. So yeah, if you're an autoholic or you just like having a lot of variety, then this is for you. Now, my next thing I love about this game is the combat. I think all MMOs and ARPGs need good fluid combat, and I have played some pretty dire ones recently. I'm looking at you, Walken, for example. So your combat feels like Devil May Cry. It's flashy, it's over the top, there's lots of beautiful effects, there's knockdowns, there's knock-ups, there's all sorts. All the combos complement each other. They don't just tend to have stagnant abilities that just, use that one, then this one. They all have overlapping kind of play, some more than others, but either way, they all look beautiful and they feel incredibly fluid. In fact, it almost feels like you're playing a DDR game sometimes, just fluidly going through one pack of enemies to the next, which is also another thing I like this. And I know this is probably something that's more telltale to kind of Eastern MMOs, but the fact that you don't just singly target one creature very often, you're often fighting whole packs of enemies and blowing them all up together, also feels really, really good. I would also like to say that they've put in a dodge system that doesn't feel completely jank and out of place. I played some ARPGs who've just shoved in the old Dark Souls roll for the hell of it and seem to think it'll naturally work, and it just kind of falls on its face a little bit. So long story short, really fluid, super fun combat. My next thing that I really like about this is the slight step away from the Holy Trinity. Now, there are classes who have support abilities and there are buffs that increase the damage of your fellow teammates and there are heals. And yes, there are setups that work better than others, but for the most part, you can play the class and get into a group of other classes and not have to worry about finding that tank and that healer every single time. I feel like the penalization of playing a DPS class in this is so much less than other traditional Western MMOs. So the next system I absolutely love, and this is probably because I'm an alcoholic, is the legacy system. So in a nutshell, the legacy system is a reward and XP system that allows you to basically benefit from having multiple characters. So as you level up and get XP, you'll also get legacy XP, which counts towards a whole system that sits under everything. This XP can count towards pretty basic stuff such as getting additional stats for all your characters. You can also unlock things like skins and pets as well. And it's really just nice to have that feeling that no matter what character I'm playing on, it's counting towards something globally, like it's one cohesive, giant, fun mess. So the next thing I want to talk about is the amount of systems in the game. Now this is going to be a real marmite for some people because some people just like a simple keep it to a minimum setup, where others like tons of them, so there's loads to get involved with. Eastern MMOs, from my experience, they all follow this pattern. There is just tons and tons of stuff to do, there's tons and tons of currency, and it can feel quite overwhelming. But I absolutely love this. There's tons of things to do. It keeps you busy. There's loads to be invested in. There's systems that I haven't even got into yet, but just to get, scratch the head of it all, there's PvP, there's the holiday events, there's this whole ship thing that I haven't got invested into yet. There's a housing system, there's the crafting system, there's the whole gear progression system, there's all the raiding content, there's the daily content, and there's also the achievement system, which I'll get into in a minute. And that brings me on to the next thing. So as part of the world, there are tons and tons of unlockables that you can get. So in terms of progression, you get to unlock a zone. So you do everything that's in a zone and you get rewards for doing that. There's also these findables. They're like little green beans across the maps. You unlock those and you get access to cosmetics and other perks. There's also a card collecting thing which gives you basic stats. There's also reputation from various characters across the maps you can unlock. Basically, if you're a person who likes to go around and discover things and get rewarded for it, then this is a game for you. So next thing I want to talk about is the PvP system. If you are a fan of arena-based PvP that isn't just, oh, I've been killed and now I'm at the game, then this will be right up your street. There is that option if you want it, but for the most part of what I've seen and watched, it is all deathmatch based, which I absolutely like. If you make a mistake, it is so debilitating, I think, to just be knocked out and have to be sat around twiddling your thumbs, especially if time is limited. So you can get back in, start chomping away, most points wins, and it's just fun and it's good and it's balanced. I know this is not the greatest description of PvP in games, and there will be people who do it far better than I do. I'm still exploring this and I'll probably do a video on it later on. But yeah, PvP, read on the forums, is a big thumbs up. And last but not least, I just want to talk about the worlds and their beauty and how good everything looks. There are so many unique monsters and biomes in this game. In fact, I don't think I've played a game in such a long time where there are so few carbon copies of each creature. Now, that's not to say they don't reuse assets, but they've done it really well. There are so many unique creatures. They're all beautiful. The bosses look big and bravish and just awesome. It's just nice to have this theme and not look at the game and go, oh, this is this could have been done better. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there because I am going to be doing more videos on this, but I just wanted to rabble on and tell you I really like this game at the moment. Sometimes I just don't want to do a review and talk about things that I love, and MMOs and ARPGs are one of them. And don't even get me started on Homeworld. Game currently isn't out on EU, but you can play it if you use a VPN on Russia. It is free to play and well worth taking a look at, and if you do, then drop me a message and maybe we can play together sometime. But anyway, I hope you're all well and having a great time, and I'll be back with more news and reviews soon.